I get frustration from a certain perspective. The iPhone 16 Pro Max looks the same as the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but after spending a week or so with Apple's newest iOS phone, I can assure you that there are significant and noticeable differences, including some that will forever change the way you use an iPhone. First, this phone is bigger. The titanium body is slightly larger and 6 grams heavier than the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The screen is a hair's breadth away from 7 inches, but the Super Retina XDR OLED screen is larger not just because of the chassis. Apple slimmed down the bezels on the iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max to give you a giant 6.9-inch canvas of bright, colorful pixels. The other major difference is a new button on the right side below the power or sleep or Siri button. Apple would prefer that we do not call it a button, though it is in part 1. You can press the recessed camera control button down and it moves, but it also has a haptic response that makes light presses feel like the button is moving. It even includes gesture recognition. While the new button's name and its primary utility speak to photographic pursuits, this is a customizable control that will soon offer one-press access to Apple's new Visual Intelligence Object Identification feature. On the inside of the iPhone 16 Pro Max is a faster and more efficient A18 Pro. It's not hugely different from the A17 Pro that came before it, and most customers will never tap into its true power, but it's clear to me that Apple's Pro line of smartphones are more than ready to live up to their names. If there was ever a pocket supercomputer, the iPhone 16 Pro Max might just be it. All this hardware is in some ways no more than a vessel for Apple's next big thing, Apple Intelligence. However, Apple's own take on AI is also the greatest source of frustration, as it's far from complete. In fact, early iPhone 16 customers won't see much of it at all unless they install an iOS beta. Features like writing tools, a prettier and somewhat smarter Siri, summaries of long emails, and Photos updates such as creating your own memories based on a prompt should show up soon after the iPhone 16 Pro Max starts shipping, but other features are essentially to come. There is no image generation, Genemojis, ChatGPT integration, or support for languages other than English, and Siri has yet to display any of its existing personal context capabilities, which might be Apple's secret weapon when it comes to winning the AI battle. Siri with Apple Intelligence will eventually be able to use what it knows about you from all your information on the phone to better help you get answers and get things done. All of this might show up this year or it might be next year, and that fact puts a little damper on my iPhone 16 Pro Max enthusiasm. If you are not buying this new iPhone for Apple Intelligence, then allow me to direct your attention to the formidable camera array. While it's not entirely new, there is a new and faster sensor behind the 48 megapixel main fusion camera, and the ultrawide makes a leap from 12 megapixel to 48 megapixel. The 5x optical zoom is mostly unchanged, as is the 12 megapixel true depth selfie camera. There are, however, myriad new imaging and even audio tricks that I'm certain every iPhone 16 Pro Max owners will love. There's 4K 120fps videography that can, via a new speed tool, be stopped down in increments to give your videos a truly cinematic feel. There are also new audio mix tools that, in certain environments, can add studio quality to audio that wasn't captured with a microphone. Apple has also added some new image styles and undertone controls that I'm not sure will get as much use as Apple would prefer. If you are asked to me, the choice between the base iPhone 16 and the iPhone 16 Pro Max is simple. You gain a ProMotion display, a 5x zoom camera, and Apple's most powerful mobile chip. The differences between the iPhone 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max, however, are more subtle this year. There's the screen size, 6.3 versus 6.9 inches, and the battery size, which results in at least an hour of extra battery life, and that's essentially it. The 5x Tetra Prism lens is now on both phones. Perhaps the only other notable difference is that iPhone 16 Pro starts with only 128GB of storage. In short, I love the iPhone 16 Pro Max. It's big, powerful, and for everything. Yes, I was playing a console level game on it using an Xbox controller because I can. It takes lovely photos that, even if you choose not to try out, the new styles and undertones are clear and color accurate. Apple Intelligence, which I accessed by installing iOS 18.1 developer beta, is a nice start with some cool features, but it's not yet a compelling reason to upgrade. I feel similarly about the camera control button. Don't get me wrong, I like the new button and I think it's full of untapped potential, but there's almost a bit of competition now between the 1-year-old action button and this new, arguably more sophisticated one. Those who buy any of the new iPhone 16 models will probably get a lot of use out of the camera control button and wonder how they used their iPhone without it. In the meantime, the action button might sit unused until Apple eventually shows it the door. It might seem like Apple's phone design strategy is now why mess with a good thing. In some ways, that's true. The iPhone 16 Pro Max doesn't stray far from the aesthetic first established with the iPhone 12, but also carries forward the myriad challenge made over the last few generations, like the smoothed out edges and new action button which replaced the silent switch on the Pro models last year. Its dimensions are close to those to the iPhone 15 Pro Max but enlarged by a few millimeters here and there. The 16 Pro Max is 163mm by 77.6mm by 8.25mm and weighs 227 grams. That's 6 grams heavier, 3.1mm taller, and 0.9mm wider than the iPhone 15 Pro Max. If you are comfortable holding and using the iPhone 15 Pro Max, I suspect you will have no trouble with the iPhone 16 Pro Max. I can't say the new phone felt substantially larger in my hand, but I do notice the difference in screen size. The bottom edge features microphone and speaker perforations, along with a USB-C port that, with the right cable, can support Thunderbolt 4 data transfer speeds. There's also a speaker slot along the very top edge of the display. Together with the bottom edge speaker, this phone can produce undistorted room-filling sound. Highs are sharp, mids are strong, and bass is good for the device size. Button placement is mostly identical to last year, with the volume buttons and action button on one side and the larger power or sleep or CD button on the other side. They are joined, however, by a new button, camera control, roughly the same size as the power button. The camera control button is a multi-purpose control that can recognize physical presses and lighter presses to enable haptic response and gestures. It offers instant access to the camera and with those other presses and gestures to various virtual millimeter lenses and camera settings. The materials and build quality are once again excellent. Apple used grade 5 titanium on the body over a graphite-clad aluminum substructure. Apple has also upgraded its ceramic shield, which may make it less susceptible to cracks and scratches, although I was quite careful with my 1TB desert titanium test unit, so I can't say for certain if this is the case. Okay, I did get it wet, purposely running the IP68 rated iPhone 16 Pro Max under a garden sprinkler. It was fun to watch the screen activating as it was touched by 1,000 tiny fingers when it was just water droplets, but the phone was otherwise unmoved and unharmed by the deluge. While Apple hasn't radically changed the iPhone's camera array, there are enough changes in hardware, software, and image processing, along with the aforementioned camera control button to make the imaging system feel fresh and new. On paper, we have just one notable megapixel upgrade, the 48-megapixel ultra-wide camera, which will not only improve wide-angle shots but has a measurable impact on macro quality. Still, even though Apple didn't squeeze a much higher pixel count into the main camera, it did upgrade the sensor and is promising much faster shutter speeds, and the autofocus is now enhanced with dual autofocus sensors. These are the kinds of incremental changes that should improve both the experience of using the quality delivered by the main camera sensor, but they are also hard to measure. More on that in a bit. The 12 megapixel 5x optical zoom is essentially unchanged from last year's iPhone 15 Pro Max. The biggest news here is found not on this phone but on its little brother, the iPhone 16 Pro, which also gets the Tetra Prism lens. Last year's Pro model was stuck with a just 3x optical zoom camera. Similarly unchanged is the 12 megapixel FaceTime camera on the front. Here are some camera samples of iPhone 16 Pro Max. The iPhone 16 Pro Max have everything we have come to expect in a year-over-year upgrade even without Apple Intelligence. The 6.9-inch iPhone 16 Pro Max have a slew of upgrades including a good battery life, outstanding photo and video chops and iOS 18. The iPhone 16 Pro Max are excellent phones worthy of a spot in your pocket if you can afford them.